Thank you. We are here this morning, obviously, welcome to Washington High School. Welcome to those that are watching on television right now, this morning, or this afternoon, or in the evening when you do pick up our 2024 Distinguished Citizens ceremony and banquet. Thank you to our juniors and seniors that are here with us, and also to our freshmen and sophomores that are joining in their classrooms. Well, obviously, we expect a great morning here. We've had a great few days. Our distinguished citizens come in on Wednesday, and they meet with our faculty here at Washington High School, and then they have a full day yesterday with breakfast and then lunch, and then they have a tour of the city as they once saw it, obviously, as students. And then obviously today we've got our assembly for you with some presentations with our distinguished citizens. And then this evening is the formal dinner where they are, in essence, inducted into this very close-knit group here at Washington High School. The very unique thing, I guess, for students to believe, and just remember, these folks were exactly like you, and I told the staff and I told the faculty on Wednesday so that you're aware. The faculty here knows that potentially in so many years they've got distinguished citizens in their classrooms. So somebody somewhere in this room at some point most likely will be back here doing the same thing that they're going to speak of as well. So with that being said, thank you to our juniors and seniors here. Please make sure that you give them your full undivided attention. And at this point, I want to turn it over to Hayden Smith to present our first distinguished citizen. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hayden Smith, and I'm representing George Maier today. George Maier is a 1978 graduate of Massillon Washington High School. He then attended the Police Academy in 1981. After graduating, he then went on to the Ohio State Patrol Academy from 1982 to 1983. In 2002, he attended the University of Louisville Southern Police Institute, taking administrative office courses. In 2015, he went through the National Sheriff's Training Academy. Some achievements that George has received are being named Stark County Sheriff, being the City of Massillon Safety and Service Director, the State of Ohio Assistant Public Safety Director. He was also a part of the Ohio Investigative Unit. He was named the Ohio State Highway Patrol District Captain. In 1991, he was named the OSP Post District and State Trooper of the Year. In 2010, he was named the chairman of the Governor's Prescription Drug Task Force. In 2014, he was awarded the National State Sheriff's Associate J. Standard Baker Award for outstanding achievement in highway safety. In 2015, he was awarded the Buckeye State Sheriff's Associative Certified Law Enforcement Manager Award, the 2017 Buckeye State Sheriff's Association Medal of Honor Award for extraordinary heroism. Then in 2023, he was named the 2024 President of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association. In 2024, he received the American Corrections Association Jail Accreditation for the Stark County Jail. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first distinguished citizen, Mr. Sheriff George Maier.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. It's always great to be in Massillon, and more importantly, at Massillon Washington High School. To the students, the faculty, and certainly those involved with the Alumni Association, I'm deeply humbled by this honor to be recognized as a distinguished citizen and certainly a distinguished alumni from Washington High School. So thank you for that. It certainly is my honor to be here with you. I have been selected for this prestigious recognition, and I would like to thank you, the alumni, again for selecting me, along with my fellow recipients who you'll hear from here shortly. I have to give a special thanks to Bob Wenzel, who I believe nominated me for this recognition. If you don't know Bob, he's around here a lot. He's given a lot of himself, many years of support to the alumni as well as to our Massillon Tiger Swing Band. I'm going to try to be respectful of time, and Chuck, I promise I'll try to stay on track. It's not my forte to stay on my script. I'm just tell you ahead of time, okay? Sometimes I get a little off script and get a little passionate about what I'm talking to. But in talking to this group today, I just want to say that in my law enforcement career, I've moved about the state. I spent 25 years with the Highway Patrol, and I've spoken to a number of groups, including high school groups, and I've never really been intimidated by that. But today, standing before you, it's a little intimidating because it's home. And man, I'm proud to be here in Massillon, Washington High School. In my profession, as I mentioned, I've had some opportunities to travel around the state, and every time I had somebody ask me about where I was from, I would take the time to tell them, and I'd stand a little taller, and my chest would puff out, talking about Massillon, the home of the Tigers. So that's a great story for me to tell in my career, and I couldn't be prouder of that. I remember vividly when I was in high school, we had a t-shirt made up, much like you guys do, Massillon, against the world. That's your mantra, right? We had a t-shirt made up that said Massillon Pride Tigers. And that mantra is still true today. I grew up a short distance from here, but near St. Mary's School, and I really enjoyed growing up so close to the downtown area. I certainly have great memories as it relates to me being a kid in Massillon, growing up. In those days, groups of kids would just walk to the games. No matter where you lived in town, you get a group of friends and just walk to the games. And it was a great opportunity to be with your friends and get excited and show up at the games. A lot of times I would be found up on the reservoir, especially when the reservoir would freeze over. I loved going up there and ice skating. And if you're from the northeast side of Massillon, you may have heard of Hess's Pond. It's another place where we gather and ice skate. Massillon was always great for having parks with some phenomenal hills that you go sled riding on. So some of my memories of growing up in Massillon included some of those activities. In my senior year at Massillon, we had something we called the Blizzard of '78. And so that's probably pretty distant from where we are today, but you can look it up. You know, we have the ability now to just Google it, look it up, and see what happened in the Blizzard of '78. I think we were out of school for like 2 weeks straight. And that was the precedence for establishing calamity days for schools, because prior to that they had not had an incident or a weather emergency like that. I had a couple paper routes when I was a kid in Massillon. I would deliver newspapers to the downtown area and in around the community, and I fondly recall some of the places on my paper route. The Buckeye Club. If you get down to the rec center, there's a little building that sits off to the side down there. It's gray and red, and that's the Buckeye Club if you don't know where it is. What was on my paper route? And I always timed my paper route on Saturdays. On the paper route, you had to collect. You had to go to your customers and collect for the paper for that week. And I always timed my Saturdays to be at the Buckeye Club around lunchtime. And it was great because my tip was a big cheeseburger, so it was great. I've been on Weight Watchers ever since, but it was always fun going into the Buckeye Club. There was another place in Massillon that was called House Sporting Goods, and there was an older couple that owned House Sporting Goods. They're not there anymore. They were located down on Erie Street by where the Alibi is, and they were great folks and certainly impacted my life to some degree. Other places I would go would be the VFW and a number of places. And one place that I would go was the Remlinger Oldsmobile Garage, and that was on Erie Street. Now, I know that's been gone for a long time, so many of you won't know where that is, so I'll help you. It's now Tremont Coffee, and I know Rick stopped over there to get a Tremont Coffee today because I've been talking about it so much, he had to try it out. Interesting, though, I have a program as your sheriff that we do what we call Coffee with a Cop, and we go around different locations, and we have the community come in and meet with us, and we hosted a Coffee with a Cop event there at Tremont Coffee, and so I guess I've made full circle. I'm back at the Rumbling Rosemobile Garage, but now it's Tremont Coffee. You know, people would talk about Massillon when I meet folks, and I'd tell them about the Booster Club program where they'd issue every newborn a miniature football. And people across the state of Ohio where I would be, they couldn't believe that. Excuse me. They just couldn't believe that we did that here in Massillon. And I would tell you, I would prove it because I still have mine, and I'd bring it and show it to them that they did that. While this was a small gesture, it was certainly a strong symbol of our passion and persistence to achieve greatness here in Massillon. Not only in football, but our community as a whole. I believe the community of Massillon is resilient in all that we do. We continually strive and accept only the best. Massillon never quits. I believe this persona stays with us throughout our adult lives. Like our Tigers, we're always in pursuit of excellence. Kids in Massillon develop a never quit mentality. I know I did. This mental attitude is still in our schools and in our community today. Coach Moore and his team worked tirelessly season after season going after our 25th state championship title. So many people had written off and doubted our ability to get there. For many years, people would underestimate us, but we, meaning our school, our coaches, our community, and most of all, our kids, never quit in their relentless pursuit of victory. Thank you to Coach Moore and our team and to our community for never giving up on believing in Massillon. In my life, and certainly in my career, I have faced many difficult challenges. I could sit here and tell you story after story. It would be like watching cops on TV or real stories of the Highway Patrol or something of that nature. But that's not my message today. My career in law enforcement as an officer, officers in law enforcement encounter more than 700 critical incidents, life-threatening and tragic situations. That's more than 200 times greater than the amount of the average person. I credit my ability to successfully manage this high level of stress from what I learned right here in Massillon, and that is to never give up and to never quit. Massillon High School is credited in my success and determination to always strive for greatness through persistence, continuous improvement, and pride in what you are and what you do. After being away from Massillon for nearly 20 years off and on, I returned to Massillon with an opportunity to serve as the Safety and Service Director. One task that I had to undertake was to develop a brand for the city. A coworker pitched an idea of "We Are Massillon," but it never really caught on. It just wasn't catchy. After some consideration, I suggested to the administration that we adopt the mantra of City of Champions. I am proud that the city has continued to utilize that phrase. It truly exemplifies the spirit of Massillon. We are and will forever be the City of Champions. Now, I've mentioned a lot about my memories growing up and my motivation to do what I do, but being a product of Washington High School, I have to mention a couple other things. And that is a few people that were in my life that motivated me. When I sat there right where you are, while we didn't have this distinguished citizen, but I can tell you I never dreamed or never thought of myself of ever being up here before you in this manner. And so, you know, don't know that you're thinking of that now. But the things you do now make a difference later on in your life. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I'm not ashamed to tell you, in my 6th grade year, my principal, Mr. Robert Haas, gave me my first school paddling. Now, I said it was my first, so you can do the math and determine if there were others. But Mr. Haas was a person that I came to have great admiration and respect for. He taught me valuable lessons through his impeccable leadership and his storied military career. And yes, I did deserve that discipline. And I promise you, it never happened again. A great man and friend also was Mr. Ron Green. He served as my freshman high school football coach. He was the basketball coach, and I can tell you, I wasn't really too good at playing basketball. But I was the kind of kid that was looking for something to do. So I was hung out after school, would help him with the basketball team, and he came to be a great friend and certainly a great mentor. Senior Blatz, who also worked, he was a Spanish teacher who also worked with me later on in my career as a state trooper to assist me in translation of Hispanic-speaking individuals that I would encounter. My English teacher, Mrs. Gaston, she was truly a trusted adult in my life. I would go to her, and sometimes I would show up at her house and just clean her sidewalks in the winter, and she just was a great person to me. I can remember a group of students went to her house around Christmas time and sang Christmas carols to her, and she was blown away by that, as were we. And I can tell you that, you know, in my yearbook, I was looking through my yearbook prior to today's event, and I seen that she had signed it. And in her signature, she said, "Thanks for coming and doing those Christmas carols." So it was something that meant a lot to her, but I know it meant a lot to us as well. I had a couple teachers that were tough on me. Ron Hammer was my automotive shop teacher, and you couldn't slack. It was kind of like with our football team. You couldn't slack off. You had to be there. You had to do your job. You had to perform. And so I credit him for holding me to that high level of responsibility. And so a person that I think maybe kept me out of trouble as a youngster was Mark Finley. Mark Finley was my American history teacher. It was mostly guys in my class. There were a few girls, but he was also tough on us. We would try to cut up in class, and he made sure that we were getting our lessons and doing what we needed to do. But he also was a trusted adult in my life and in the lives of a lot of young men in that room. And I think ultimately he kept a lot of young men out of trouble. And so special thanks to him. So I'm happy to tell you that Mr. Finley did help me after I left high school. He told me a story. I bump into him every once in a while. He told me a story about one day he came to his classroom and he said, there was a trooper standing there. He thought, well, I wasn't speeding. I don't know why this trooper's here. And so the trooper said, "Are you Mr. Finley?" He said, "When he said that, I thought I was in trouble." He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, I'm here to talk to you about George Maier. He wants to be a state trooper." And so I'm not sure what Mr. Finley told that trooper, but I spent 25 years on the highway patrol, had a rewarding career, so I really owe a tribute to him because I think he said the right things, because here I am today. And I need to segue a little bit from my structured talking points today to talk a little bit about something that I think is important to you. What you do now matters. And I know you probably don't think that, but what you do now matters. In my career, and certainly in my role as your Stark County Sheriff, I interview a lot of people, okay? And I see a lot of people. I see people on both sides of the fence. I see people who are in our jail, and I see people who are coming in for a job, and I see people who are productive in our community. And I interview a lot of people. And I can tell you, when I'm interviewing people for a job, I don't necessarily look at their pedigree, okay? Here's what I look for, and this is where it's important. Did they show up? Folks, you cannot do anything in life unless you show up. You must show up, okay? And so I look at their attendance record to see if they came to school and see what they were involved with. Because again, I'm not looking for their pedigree, I'm looking at their character. You see, in my profession, I have to hire people for character. I have to hire people that have the heart to serve their community and have the diligence to do things the right way and follow the rules. And have the persistence to do things even when they're having a bad day, because in my job, you will have bad days. And I say that because in life, while I talked a little bit about my teachers, who I think helped prepare me for life, and when you think about your teachers, the people around you today, while their role is to teach you, but their role is truly to prepare you for life, the best of their ability to prepare you for what you'll encounter as young adults and throughout your adult life. And so I can tell you that those teachers that I encountered here, and there were many more, many others rather, they certainly helped me prepare for life. And they helped me, and certainly they're here helping you today, whether you recognize it or not. When I got scolded or when I got in trouble, when I got that paddling in the 6th grade, that teacher was trying to help me. That principal helped me. So look at it from a different prism, different view. Folks, these folks are trying to help you here. Your success truly is their success. And so when I talk to people about a job in the field of law enforcement and corrections, I am absolutely looking for people that are willing to come to work and work hard and certainly have good character and will treat the people in our community with dignity and respect. Why? Because in today's law enforcement profession, we are lost if we don't have the trust of our community. And so when I hire people, I look at people that are going to develop and build that trust with our community, just like the trust that you build with your faculty and your teachers right here. Everything I have or ever will have, I certainly offer up to God. Remain faithful in your God. Whoever your God is, remain faithful. God is always with me in good times and bad, and He has never failed to guide me in life. And I look to Him often for guidance. God bless you, and thank you again. I am truly humbled to have this moment and will cherish it for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Megan Dingy, and I'm introducing Craig Keener today. Craig Keener is a 1978 graduate of Massillon Washington High School. He took his education further, attending the Central Bible College of Evangel University and Duke University. From Duke, he obtained a PhD in 1991, as well as the 2021 Alums of the Year from Central Bible College, and the 1987 and 2006 Alums of the Year from the Assemblies of God Theological Seminary. Through his education, Mr. Keener has accomplished many things, including being the editor-in-chief for the Bulletin for Biblical Research from 2014 to 2019. He was the 2020 president of the Evangelical Theological Society. He was the 2022 Global Teacher of the Year Award. He's been a seminary professor since 1992. He's been lecturing in 26 countries, and with his wife, Medine, working together for ethnic reconciliation both in the United States and internationally.
Because he had so many years of experience, he put his knowledge into writing. He's published 35 books in 39 volumes, which equivalates to 19,000 pages. He's won 15 national and international awards. He has 1.4 million copies in circulation. He's been honored with being a New Testament editor for the Cultural Background Study Bible. He's the 2017 International Book Award winner for Christianity and has 300 additional articles. Between his educational achievements and his many publications, his addition to the Distinguished Citizens is well-deserved. It is my honor to introduce our second Distinguished Citizen of 2024, best-selling author and educator, Mr. Craig Keener.
Thank you both. They gave me two because I guess I'm a worse speaker. I needed more help. So, and George and I, we graduated together, and George, I want to say, Mr. Haas spanked me too. I'm so grateful to the committee and to the faculty and my hometown for this award, to the introducers, and to all who facilitated this award. I'm grateful to my fellow honorees this year who have such amazing accomplishments and yet are such gracious people when you get to know them, as you can also tell from some of the stories that they share. I'm also grateful to the students at my high school, alma mater, the distinguished citizens of the future. Not all of you will receive the same recognition, some will, but each of us can be distinguished in our own way, and I'll talk more about that later. My family has deep roots in this community. My grandfather, Chet Cooper, was a builder. He built a lot of the homes in the northeast of Massillon. And he also built the Amherst Park Shopping Center and ran that for a time. My mom is an artist, and she's had a lot of things in Massillon Museum's art shows. And my dad owned the Keener Men's Shop, which was a long time ago, before before most of you would have been buying men's clothes. You know, I liked school so much, so I enjoyed high school, I enjoyed school so much, that if you count my time teaching, my total time in academia, I'm now in 57th grade. I have to be careful where I say that. That can traumatize small children. But I was a journalism major all 3 years at the high school, which of course has been very useful to me in my subsequent writing career. I worked on the Washington High Times, and that training has naturally helped me in the subsequent years of writing. I'm actually ADHD, so I'm grateful for all the training that I get. And I also played the Mock Turtle in Alice in Wonderland. I'm sure everybody remembers that. But anyway, even though I have a PhD, and for the last decade I've been teaching doctoral students, I have this recurrent nightmare in which my earlier records got lost and I have to go back to repeat elementary school. But now all of you are my witnesses. I actually graduated. But whenever I tell people in this region that I'm from Massillon, they say, "Oh, the football town!" And then they look at me and they say, "No thanks to you." I did run track. I even won one race in junior varsity shortly after twisting my ankle. So that was purely by God's grace, which is the same for me being here. Sports isn't too controversial because everybody knows the Tigers rock. But religion and politics tend to generate more controversy. My only political comment is that I would guess that my colleague George Maier is the coolest sheriff. But as to religion, you know, it's important for what I do now. There are nice religious people, there are mean religious people, there are nice atheists, there are mean atheists. I was one of the mean atheists. I used to make fun of Christians who tried to share their faith with me. I even disqualified myself in a spelling bee at Longfellow Junior High School by misspelling religious, although that was an accident. But reading Plato at age 13 raised questions about life after death. I wasn't persuaded that Plato answered them very well, but the questions that he raised were surely good ones. A couple years later, when I was walking home one day from Washington High School, somebody on the street shared with me that Jesus died for my sins and rose again, and that could make me right with God. I told them that I didn't believe in God. But later that day, even though I'd studied different religions and different philosophies, later that day I had an unexpected encounter with God's own presence that transformed the whole direction of my life. I still didn't understand how Jesus' death and resurrection saved me, but I was sure glad for it. Obviously, at that point, me being from a totally non-religious background, the little kids in Sunday school knew more about the Bible than I did, so I had to start playing catch-up. You know, if you read 40 chapters of the Bible a day, you can get through it every month. But I'm not saying everybody should do that. I don't do that now. But besides me cramming to catch up on the Bible itself, different ministers around town helped me. So Donald Stanley at First Assembly took me on hospital visitation with him sometimes and mentored me. William Dunn at First Baptist helped supply me with Bibles when I shared my faith with others. Alan Ute at St. John's United Church of Christ helped me with my skeptical questions that I still had. At High Mill, Chuck Schumacher, who was then age 28, helped me recognize that my generation, in our teens and some there were in their early 20s, wasn't too young to make a difference. And actually, if Jesus' disciples were like most disciples in antiquity, they were probably teenagers, or most of them were probably teenagers. At High Mill, I also learned that you can wear shorts to church. Although I connected with Bob Lewis at St. James AME Zion Church later, he became one of the first friends I'd visit whenever I returned to Massillon. Now, coming originally from outside Christianity, it looked to me like Christians all had more in common with each other than any of them had with my former atheism. But in my home church, we often would raise our hands in worship. And on the way to high school in the mornings, I sometimes stopped in at the morning mass at St. Mary's, enjoying the reverent worship. Well, one day, Father Perillo approached and asked if I was a member at the church. I was afraid he'd noticed that I didn't come forward during the Eucharist, and he was going to tell me not to come anymore. Rather, he'd seen me lifting my hands. I hadn't realized I was doing it. Now I thought, I'm really in trouble. No, he explained. He really liked that. And so he started taking me to some Catholic charismatic meetings with him. And he forthwith became one of my mentors in Massillon also. My scholarly work explores the mysteries and the details. My largest book includes 45,000 references from ancient works outside the Bible to try to provide cultural background to more clearly understand the biblical texts. But the more I learn, the more it brings me back to the heart of my faith, a God who showed his love for us, giving his own dear Son, giving his own heart to make us his own, if we are willing. Not all kinds of success are guaranteed. Just because you write a book, for example, is no guarantee that anybody is going to read it. I've written a few books like that. The others of my books, the ones that sell tens of thousands or the ones that sell hundreds of thousands, that really doesn't say anything about me. I only had to write them once. It's my readers who bought them. And again, as you can tell by looking at me, I was not on the high school football team. But there is a kind of success that you can guarantee, and that's by becoming the kind of person that you would respect, a person of integrity. Some people take shortcuts by cheating, and it catches up with them. But living in an honorable way is itself a great success. On average, the harder you work now, including in academic, vocational, and physical self-discipline, the easier your work will be later on. Life is too short to live just for the moment. Take care of yourself along the way, but invest your life in a purpose greater than yourself. Still, realistically, life can be hard. My wife earned a PhD, but after we were at Duke together, before we were married, she became a war refugee for 18 months in her nation of Congo in Central Africa. Sometimes she traveled 10 miles a day through snake-infested swamps and fields of army ants to get food for her family. Meanwhile, I was praying frantically for my friend's safety, not knowing if she was alive or dead. The last letter I got from her said her cousin had just been shot dead, her brother and father had nearly been shot dead, and she didn't know if she was going to live or die, and please pray for her. She's here. You can tell she survived by God's grace. We brought free copies of our love story for anybody who'd like one. I think they'll be in the back outside after this assembly. So it includes her experience of war. It's a true story, so just a trigger warning. It does include real-life war, faith, romance, and a lot of hardship. But if you'd like a copy, they're free, they're available, and now I defer to my really esteemed colleagues. So grateful to be among you.
Hi, I'm Maggie Albrecht, and I'm introducing Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller is a 1995 graduate of WHS, and he actually played in the 100th Massillon-McKinley football game. He continued his education at Ohio University and graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Communications. Kevin's journey has been focused on media and entertainment. His professional achievements include playing a writer on several episodes on the 2006 sitcom 30 Rock, worked on productions for Comedy Central, MSNBC, MTV, and NBC's Today Show. He became a creative consultant for the ESPYs on ESPN. He was supervising producer at Late Night with Seth Meyers, and he had 14 seasons at Saturday Night Live in various positions, including writer's assistant, associate producer, and co-producer. Kevin has been responsible for producing interviews with A-list celebrities, athletes, authors, and newsmakers. He's collaborated with hosts such as Justin Timberlake, Seth Meyers, John Hamm, and Rob Riggle. Kevin has directed NBA stars Blake Griffin and Kevin Love, and is an alumnus of the NBC Page program. Kevin has many profound awards and honors, such as earning the Peabody Award in 2008 for political satire while at Saturday Night Live as the associate producer. He was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics at the 2008 ESPYs for the song I Love Sports. Kevin won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Talk Show with A Late Night with Seth Meyers as supervising producer in both 2020 and 2021. Kevin was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Talk Variety Series with A Late Night with Seth Meyers as supervising producer in 2022 and 2023. With great respect, it is my honor to introduce WHS Distinguished Citizen Kevin Miller.
Thank you, Maggie. TIG. There we go. Figured we still do that here. It's truly a delight and honor to be here today. I'd like to thank the Alumni Association, Scholarship, and Distinguished Citizen Committees. I'd also like to thank Mr. Lautenschlager, and a special thank you to Chuck Richards for his tireless organizational efforts and for making me feel so welcome back in Massillon. It's been a pleasure getting to know George and Craig, class of 1978, and Rick, class of 82, and I'm, of course, class of 95, and together it sounds like we're a soft rock variety station playing our hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. When I received the call from Mr. Lautenschlager, I'd been nominated for the award, I saw a 330 area code followed by a number that I didn't recognize pop up on my phone. I answered and I heard a voice say, "Can I please talk to Kevin Miller? This is the principal of Washington High School." And it's funny, even after how 30 years later, my stomach dropped quickly and my immediate thought was, oh no, what did I do? What did they find? And what's the statute of limitations for getting in trouble in high school? I also want to thank former superintendent and distinguished citizen and Massillon legend Al Paris for this nomination. And I definitely wouldn't be here without the unconditional love and support of my parents, Gary and Linda Miller, who I'm grateful are here today. They were both incredibly active in the Massillon City schools. My mom is a graduate of the class of '64, and after getting her degree from Otterbein College, she returned to Massillon and spent 25 years teaching at Emerson Whittier in the middle school. And although my dad, Gary, didn't technically attend Massillon, after graduating with a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Cincinnati, he balanced a demanding career at Goodyear while serving on the Massillon School Board of Education for over 30 years and played an integral role in the construction of this new high school. My mother and father set quite an example for me to try to be to service of others, and I feel very blessed to have them here. And of course, my daughter Maddie, she's my reason to be in my whole world. My entire family is my source of strength, stability, and encouragement, and I thank them for always believing in me. This is sort of a full circle moment because I remember coming to see WHS grad David Canary, who was a soap opera star on All My Children. I don't know if anybody remembers that. He did a concert here called What You'd Call a Dream, and as he spoke, he was talking about his career, and I thought, wow, someone from Massillon figured out how to get on television. I went backstage and he gave me a note and said, if you ever get to New York, call my agent, and I'll always remember that. And when I reflect on growing up here, there's been a constant theme that whenever I reach out for help, someone is willing to always extend a hand to guide me and help lift me up. A little about me. I graduated in '95 and attended the University of Toledo, where I started as a pre-dentistry major because I had braces for 8 years and I thought there's gotta be a better way. But my grades in biology and organic chemistry class had me reassess the situation. After some honesty with myself and a big old D in biology, I finally admitted that I wanted to pursue a career in television, but didn't quite know how to get there. So I ended up transferring to Ohio University, which had a pretty renowned communications and television journalism program. It was a tough decision at the time, but I realized I had this dream to pursue this other career in entertainment, the sparks of which had been lit performing on the stage here at Massillon. I landed a coveted internship at NBC's Today Show through my network at Ohio University. I finally had a foot in the door. And when I arrived in New York, I loved it. I loved being at NBC. I had access to all these things I had only seen on television. I was working in the same building as some of my favorite comedy shows like Late Night with Conan O'Brien and Saturday Night Live. I remembered I'd just sit and watch SNL rehearsals, fascinated by what was going on behind the scenes. Watching the sets being built, writers make changes to scripts, the cast reading the lines on cue cards, and the director showing the host exactly where to go. After my Today Show internship ended, I was back in class at Ohio University, but returned to New York over the winter break for an internship at MSNBC on the advice to expand my contacts where I worked in the newsroom. Months later, upon graduation, I found my way back to New York again. I took a risk and passed up a permanent job offer at the Today Show, where I'd been an intern, and I followed my gut. After several rounds of interviews, I earned a spot in the NBC Page program, which is an entry-level one-year program where you start by giving studio tours of NBC, helping seat audiences for shows, and working in other guest services, all while wearing a navy blue polyester blazer and peacock tie. So despite the painful uniform, it seemed worth the price for entry to explore other opportunities throughout NBC. I worked on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade at Dateline and eventually won a highly competitive assignment at Saturday Night Live. Although I was doing menial tasks like running errands, taking food and coffee orders, and delivering scripts, I had access to people who worked there, to ask questions, and to see firsthand how the show comes together. It was also the first time I had heard about the importance of relationships in business, and I really tried to do everything with a smile on my face and a positive attitude. Be kind, work hard, stay humble, even if I was picking up 2 crispy chicken sandwiches and biggie fries at Wendy's for Christina Aguilera, or getting a 12-egg omelet for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. When I wasn't giving tours or on Wendy's runs, I'd been trying to do stand-up comedy at night with a couple of friends. And although the jokes were not very good, the experience was great. This was something I had thought about here at Washington High School, but I was finally doing it. I ended up finishing the Page program and had a short stint working at Comedy Central on a show called Insomniac with Dave Attell, only to return to Saturday Night Live a couple months later as the writer's assistant when a job opened up. A chance to work with comedy writers and be in the same room where they're coming up with ideas for this comedy show, that sounded right up my alley. And it was. I mean, if I had told the 15-year-old version of myself that this is what I would be doing a few years later, I wouldn't have believed it. So I was excited to be back at NBC, even though I was barely making minimum wage. Suddenly, I was in the center of this creative process at a show that I used to watch and quote with friends in my parents' basement listening to Adam Sandler CDs, or in the bleachers of the student section at Tiger Stadium. I tried to keep my head down and focus on the best job I could do, whether it was getting coffee for Will Ferrell or Tracy Morgan, or running scripts to Justin Timberlake, or researching facts about the Kardashians for writers working on a sketch. I focused on getting the small details right. Eventually, as I kept working my way up the ladder, I would graduate from getting the coffee to receiving the coffee, finally collaborating and pitching ideas with the very people I was a fan of. I even submitted a couple jokes that ended up getting on air for a little segment called Weekend Update with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. One of the most surprising experiences I had, though, was being asked to play a writer in the background for a few scenes of a pilot being created around that time by head writer Tina Fey. It was eventually called 30 Rock and aired for 6 seasons on NBC and won a slew of Emmys. Even though I was only in the background of a couple of episodes in the first season, it was a thrill to be on set, and I even got to deliver a line of dialogue. By the way, her husband, who's a wonderful producer, director, and musician, is from Ohio, so maybe that Buckeye connection had something to do with it. Throughout my 14 seasons at SNL, I got the opportunity to meet and learn and work with some of the funniest, smartest, kindest people in comedy, including Kenan Thompson, Seth Meyers, Bill Hader, Andy Samberg, Jason Sudeikis, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and Will Forte, as well as countless talented writers and producers. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, as was the case with how I transitioned from Saturday Night Live to my current role at Late Night. Back in 2013, there was a shakeup in the world of late night comedy TV, which featured the shifting of Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, and Jimmy Fallon. Jay Leno retired, Jimmy Fallon moved from 12:30 to 11:30, and Seth, who I'd worked with for close to 12 years at Saturday Night Live, got the call from boss Lorne Michaels, who is now overseeing all of NBC's late night programming, that he would be chosen to take over hosting Late Night, launching a new iteration of the franchise that I was thrilled to be a part of when Seth asked me to join the team. Since then, I've had the pleasure of working as a supervising producer and being at the center of pop culture and current events every day, often getting the opportunity to talk with and interview interesting people, including celebrities and newsmakers, which is just, it's been a dream come true. Highlights include producing people like Amy Poehler, Daniel Radcliffe, and Tom Holland. In addition to the show, I've also been working on a new podcast with Seth and Andy Samberg called The Lonely Island and Seth Meyer's Podcast, which just debuted last week, so check it out wherever you get your podcasts. I'm so grateful that I get to work on a comedy show where the goal is to entertain and make people happy. Looking back, that was more often my goal than not when walking these halls, trying to score some laughs, mostly with bad impressions of teachers and coaches. I have such fond memories of all my teachers, most of my teachers, some of my teachers. I have fond memories of a few of my teachers. No, of course, I'm kidding, they were all amazing. Although most are retired, several educators had a profound impact on my life, including Claudette Eisnick, Joan Pratt, Bobby Molbach, Paula Morgan, coaches Jack Rose, Steve Studer, Joe Studer, our French teacher, Madame Sturgiadis, who always said, soyez sage before the weekend, which meant be wise. And of course, Lauren Weigel, helping me shape the creative part of myself. Although my career seems like it's been a series of right place at the right time, it's actually the combination of the skill sets and values that I learned while growing up here in Massillon. Like when to work hard, when to speak up, when to take risks, and when to keep pushing forward. These are all things that I attribute to where I am today. I'm so grateful for being with you all today. Thank you so much for this wonderful honor.
Hi, good morning. I'm Hunter Manson, and today I'll be presenting Rick Spielman. Rick Spielman is a 1982 graduate of Massillon Washington High School. He played varsity football for the Tigers at both quarterback and linebacker. He continued his educational and football career at Southern Illinois University, earning a BA in exercise physiology. While at Southern Illinois, he played linebacker from 1983 to 1986. Rick also attended The Ohio State University, earning an MBA in sports science kinesiology. Mr. Spielman's professional achievements include Scout Executive for the Detroit Lions 1990 to 1996, Director of Pro Personnel for the Chicago Bears 1997 to 1999, Vice President of Player Personnel for the Miami Dolphins 2000 to 2001, Vice President of Football Operations for the Miami Dolphins 2002 to 2003, General Manager for the Miami Dolphins 2004, ESPN NFL Analyst in 2005, Vice President of Player Personnel for the Minnesota Vikings 2006 to 2011. He acquired 23 Pro Bowlers for the Minnesota Vikings from 2006 to 2022. Now he's a CBS NFL Analyst and Sirius XM NFL radio host 2022 to the present. Rick's accomplishments and honors include NCAA Division I National Championship at Southern Illinois in 1983, First Team All-Gateway Conference in 1985, National Angels and Adoption Award in 2016, Steinberg Nicola Humanitarian Award in 2018, and now I'm very honored to welcome WHS Distinguished Citizen Rick Spielman.
Thank you. Again, I was sitting in your seat 40-some years ago, which is kind of incredible to think of. And if you would have told me that I'd be standing here in front of you today, I would have told you that I also have some swampland in Florida where I live now that you can purchase. I thought today that I would do something a little different with you. I know with all of the distinguished guests, and I thank the committees and everybody that has given me such a prestigious honor, but I want to talk to you about if I were sitting in your shoes right now, what would I want to hear from old people like us up here? So, over 33 years of NFL experience, drafted thousands of players, some good, some bad, hired thousands of coaches, some good, some bad, hired a lot of personnel people, but I wanted to identify what really stuck out to me on those people that became successful. And when I go back and give you some advice as you get ready to go into your college career, as you get ready to go on to do what you're going to do in the world, the one thing that I would tell you to do is don't do something you like to do, because, although you have to do that. Find out what your true passion is in life. And when I was coming up, I knew in general that I wanted to be in the NFL. I didn't know what capacity. I thought I would be maybe a player, but apparently my brother Chris got that gene and I got the front office gene. So I knew that I wasn't going to be an NFL player. I had a pretty good college career, played here at Massillon, and then I got signed by then the San Diego Chargers at the time. And I remember my first mini camp out there. And there was a tight end that I had to do a one-on-one drill with. And his name was Kellen Winslow, who's in the Hall of Fame. So if you don't know who Kellen Winslow is, think of Travis Kelce. That's who Kellen Winslow was at the time. And I'm lined up over him in this one-on-one drill. And honestly, I didn't know, should I ask him for his autograph? Should I hit him? I don't know what to do with this guy because I know he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. So the ball was snapped, and he hit me in the mouth like I've never been hit before, and I landed flat on my back. I got up, and I said, this NFL player thing probably not going to work out for me. I'm going to have to try something else. Then as I was going through getting my master's down at Ohio State, I thought that I wanted to coach. And when I went through all those degrees in sports science, basically, I thought I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach because Steve Studer, who was probably the biggest influence in my life here when we and my brother were in Massillon, Ohio, I wanted to touch people in a way that he changed me and my brother's life. Not only how we learned our work ethic and everything, but how to push yourself beyond what you think you and your body and your mind can do. So I got a call from the Detroit Lions. I signed, after I got cut by the San Diego, I got called by the Detroit Lions. I signed with Detroit back in 1987. They thought maybe I got the shot here, and they drafted my brother in the second round. So we both played linebacker. It was an unbelievable experience, and my brother is not only my brother, but my closest friend. But I ended up getting cut. So then I thought, what am I going to do next? So I went into, maybe I want to go coaching. Detroit called me back, and after I had gotten my master's degree, I was working as like an intramural / athletic director at Columbus State College. It was a 2-year program. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. I went up and got interviewed for a coaching job with the Detroit Lions. I thought that was going to be my path. And after I got out of that interview, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And probably didn't love it because they didn't hire me anyway, so it didn't matter. 6 months later, they called me and asked me if I wanted to be a scout. And they said, we'll pay you $50 to go down to a Cincinnati Bengal, Philadelphia Eagle game and write up reports on the players because there was no internet, there were no computers, there were no cell phones. You had to handwrite everything. And I went down there that weekend, and when I came back, I told my wife, hon, I've never felt whatever sensation came through me, but this is truly my passion and what I want to do. And I've been blessed through my career to work my way up the ladder through all these organizations, you know, to finish as the Minnesota Vikings general manager and now get into the TV world. But what I would tell you is when I was hiring people, okay, I would get over 2,000 resumes a year. People trying to get in, you know, to the NFL. And I can't imagine what it's like in any other organization. but it's incredible how many resumes I came across. And I asked myself, what makes this resume different from this resume? And the one bit of advice that I would give you is, first off, is your educational experience. Anyone that was not working on a master's or had finished their master's degree were eliminated, okay? The second thing, I love people that did a bunch of other jobs to help support themselves or show that they had some drive to try to achieve the goal they wanted to achieve. But if they weren't in the field we were hiring, even if it was a volunteer job, we would eliminate them. So I don't care if you work at 7-Eleven, Burger Chef, but that's here no more? Okay. Okay, there was a Burger Chef up the street here that was pretty good back in the day. But if you're doing that and you're making money to help support yourself and you want to get, let's say in my field, then do something in athletics, even if it's volunteer, because I want to see at least you had some initiative or some passion trying to get in to the field that you want to get into. Biggest piece of advice I can ever give you, social media. Clean your crap up, because the first thing I have our people do is go to every social media account, whether it was a player, whether it was a coach, whether it was a person we're hiring, whether it was an intern. They go into your social media. And if you have, I'll put it this way, since I think I'm on TV, crap that you don't want seeing on your social media, don't put it out there. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on people that were a lot smarter than me to figure how to crack into all your guys' social media. And there's no secret. You think it's like, I don't know, best friendies or whatever the heck, honestly, I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to find out. We spent $125,000 with a company that did background checks. And it was so successful with us trying to make the best decisions possible on players, because I'm going to draft this player. For example, Caleb Williams this year, right? Going to be probably the #1 overall pick with the Chicago Bears. Guess what his contract's going to be? Guaranteed $45 million a year for 4 years straight. That's in his pocket. All he has to do is come in and sign a paper. So you don't think that I'm going to do everything I can to dig on that kid, whether it's psychological testing, whether it's intelligence, but the most important thing is the background. And if you think you screwed up in high school and have some kind of record that you think is sealed, it's not. The stuff that I got back from people as we delve into their backgrounds, including interns, because if I'm going to pay this much money for this service I'm going to get, not only am I going to use it on players, I'm going to use it on any intern that we bring into the program. So please, you have decisions to make in your life, and everybody's in situations, and you are the only one to control that situation. You get an opportunity to choose one way or the other, and that's your choice. I mean, you can get advice from all the people that came up in your background, how you were raised, but ultimately that decision comes down to you. And which direction you go with that decision, and if it's the wrong decision, it may haunt you for the rest of your life. And you may not think that right now sitting there. But I threw out hundreds of resumes once I got their background research done. If you get an internship program, and this drove me crazy, the biggest piece of advice, I know everybody wants to advance in life, and everybody, they find their passion and their true job they want to do, that I got an internship program. When can I be the next general manager? As you come in as an intern, wherever you're at, the only thing you need to worry about is being the best intern you possibly can be. Don't worry about what's next, what I can do next, what I can do next. That will come because, listen to this, I want to say it a couple more times, even though you don't think so, people are always watching. So I had an intern, came in, met all those qualifications that I talked to you all about, and his main job was to run players back and forth to the airport. What he thought was a menial task. Why do I have to go, and I have to go get, Bobby bag of donuts you're bringing in from Beaver Creek University because you want to sign him to the practice squad? Or why do I have to take him to go run to the doctors all the way downtown to get a physical so he passes it? We had a player, it's about 5 years ago, we were going to give him a $35 million contract. We worked 3 months with the agent to get to this agreement. I told the intern to go pick this player up at the airport. Intern was ticked off because he thought it was beneath him because he's been advancing and doing a good job. Went and picked that player up, came back, had a meeting and everything with the player, and the player didn't sign with us. And I said, what happened? I found out that intern had such a horse crap attitude when he picked that player up because didn't greet him with a smile. That's the first impression that that player had of the Minnesota Vikings. And when that intern did not welcome him with open arms, the guy took, well, he actually took $36 million from another team, but that's a whole nother story. But that's how important that job was to him. And guess what? That intern wasn't with us much longer after that. Data entry, okay? I don't know how, I don't know. I used to be honest with you, I had peoples do all that stuff, so I didn't do it. But I did know that when we were getting ready to draft somebody, and I didn't have whoever did the data input, and if they didn't take pride in doing that, and there were mistakes in there based on something this player did off the field, based on something this player had at the medical that he didn't input right, if I make a mistake because some intern did not take the time or take the pride into doing his job, and we make a mistake in a draft, guess who gets blamed for that? I do, not that intern. We had an intern, I'll tell you this last couple stories, that we were at training camp in Mankato State, which is just 60 miles south of Minneapolis. That's where we went to training camp. We were on a campus, and every player, every coach, everybody got a bike so we can get around campus. So I come down in the morning. I like to go work out in the morning. There was a kid, not even in a personnel intern. He was a football operations intern that was hoping to get in personnel. And I told him we didn't have a job for him right now. So I come down at 5:30 in the morning. This person is out there wiping the dew off of all the bike seats. So when the players and coaches come down, they don't get their arses wet because of the dew on the bike seat. So I watched it 3 days, watched it 4 every day during training camp. He did that. I had a second-year intern that was just like ahead of him, thought he was going to be it. I asked him at 6 a.m. every morning, you have to check the players and coaches in for breakfast. So it was mandatory for everybody to eat. So he'd have to sit there at 6 a.m. and as a player come through, check, 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 okay? Intern said to me, I've been here 2 years, why don't you have one of the first-year interns do it? I said, okay, that's fine. Guess what? I said, the next day, I didn't have the first-year intern do it. I got up and went over and sat there and did that job. And you want to imagine the look on his face when he saw me checking the names off? He didn't last either. So the whole point of it is this, that you can control your own destiny. There may be people smarter than you. There are a lot of people smarter than I am. But the one thing I controlled was that I always worked as hard as I could at it. And that's the only thing you can control. Whatever plan your life goes down or whatever path it goes down, You don't know it right now. I mean, I thought I knew it, and then it took 3 or 4 different turns till I found out eventually what I was going to do. But work ethic is the only thing that you truly control at whatever you do. And remember this, honestly, and I told my kids this all the time, someone, whether it's your social media, whether it's your background, whether it's what you're doing and you don't think anyone's watching, someone is always watching what you're doing. And that's probably the reason why I'm standing here today. Thank you.
Can we just have one more, before you guys exit here, can we just have one more round of applause for our distinguished citizens? Thank you. And real quickly, the families of our distinguished citizens, can you guys stand up as far as our distinguished citizens and our families? Can you guys stand up, please? Distinguished citizens as well. And at this time, what I want to do is a little bit different. Just like Rick said, please stay standing. The students that are in here, in my world, just so that you know, as students, as junior and senior students, you are setting the standard for how things are supposed to be moving forward. We've been in here, we've been in the assembly, and I think it's prudent that our distinguished citizens and their families turn around and congratulate and thank you for a job well done for our future distinguished citizens. Thank you guys. You guys can have a seat. It is, I'll close it up here. I know that I'm obviously on TV and watching, and I hope that you guys were able to take something from what you heard today. As a principal, these messages keep getting better and better and better from what I've heard. And as students, I'm very, very thankful, truly, for what you guys have done here today for the last hour or so and being attentive and respectful to their messages. You will be in 5th Mod moving forward. Thank you.